He owned a car built for one person on Earth, with his own initials stamped into its name. Then, in 2025, he got rid of the lot. Every single car. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, a man who could buy almost anything with an engine, quietly cleared out one of the most jaw-dropping private collections on the planet. Which is exactly why this list matters now, because these are cars he has owned, past tense, and some of them you will never see gathered like this again. We're talking about a hypercar so exclusive, only 275 people were allowed to buy one. A Ferrari limited to just 80 in the whole world, and a royal blue McLaren, one of only 375 ever made, that he bought at the absolute peak of his career. Here's what makes this collection so fascinating. Hamilton didn't chase the same trophies every other footballer and film star buys. He hunted the rare, the strange, the almost unobtainable, including 2 vintage American legends he tracked down himself. 10 cars, each one rarer than the last, and the further we climb, the harder they get to believe, right up to the one machine no one else on Earth was ever allowed to own. Let's begin with the car that started his obsession. If you enjoy forgotten British car stories like this, consider subscribing. There are many more coming every week. Number 10. The Ferrari 599 GTO. Before the hypercars, before the bespoke machines, there was this. The Ferrari 599 GTO was the first serious supercar Hamilton bought with his very own money, back in 2010, when the wins and the fame were still fresh and new. Think about what that moment must have meant to him. A young man from Stevenage, who grew up taping these cars to his bedroom wall and flicking through them in magazines, suddenly able to walk into a Ferrari showroom and drive one home with his own name on the check. And he didn't pick something safe or ordinary. He picked the GTO, the hardcore, track-honed version, the one built for drivers who genuinely understand what they're doing behind the wheel. Those 3 letters, G, T, O, are the most sacred in all of Ferrari's long history. The company only ever hands them to a tiny few of its very greatest cars, and never lightly. And Hamilton, still only in his early championship years, walked in and chose exactly that. He later sold it on, of course, as collectors do. But this was the spark, the very first taste. And once a man like Hamilton gets a real taste for the rare and the extreme, there is simply no going back. So where does the road lead next? Straight to a car, wearing one of the most famous 3-pointed badges of all. Number 9. The Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG Black Series. Now, Hamilton drove for Mercedes for years, so it makes perfect sense he'd own one of their wildest creations. But this wasn't just any SLS. This was the Black Series, the meanest, most focused, most aggressive version they ever built. Picture those doors for a moment. The SLS had huge gullwing doors, the kind that open upward toward the sky, like a great metal bird stretching its wings before flight. It's the sort of car that stops traffic simply by sitting completely still at the curb. And the Black Series took all of that theater and sharpened every single edge of it, stiffer, louder, angrier, hungrier. Here's what makes this one feel so human. Hamilton didn't quietly tuck it away in a private garage. Back in 2014, he proudly shared his brand new Black Series with the whole world on social media, like a kid on Christmas morning, holding up the best present he'd ever been given. That's real, unfiltered, boyish excitement from a man who could genuinely have anything on Earth. And that's the thing people forget about Hamilton. Underneath the 7 titles and the global fame, he's a genuine car enthusiast who gets giddy over a great machine. But if the SLS made him smile, the next car made history, because it's one of the most important supercars of the modern age. Number 8. The McLaren P1. This is where the collection climbs into truly legendary territory. The McLaren P1 wasn't just fast. It was one of a rare group of 3, a trio of revolutionary hybrid hypercars that arrived together and completely rewrote what people believed was possible on 4 wheels. Enthusiasts still speak about those 3 cars in reverent, almost worshipful tones, and McLaren made only 375 of them. That's it, in the entire world. Hamilton bought his in 2015, finished in a gorgeous, deep royal blue, at the absolute height of his powers as a driver. Just imagine that meeting for a second. The best driver on the planet, at the very peak of his career, taking delivery of one of the rarest and most technically advanced cars ever built. Man and machine, both at the top of their game. The P1 could deploy electric power and roaring petrol power together, unleashing a surge of performance that felt almost like science fiction at the time. This was the future arriving early, glowing on his driveway. But rarity like 375 units, believe it or not, that's about to look almost common, because the next car exists in far, far smaller numbers. Number 7. The Ferrari 599 SA Aperta. Here's where the word rare starts to take on a whole new meaning. The Ferrari 599 SA Aperta wasn't built by the hundreds. It wasn't even built by the many. Ferrari made just 80 of these in the entire world. 80. That's fewer cars than there are seats on a single passenger jet. The SA Aperta was a special, open-topped celebration model, a stunning drop-top Grand Tourer built in tiny numbers to honor Ferrari's legendary design house, Pininfarina. To even be offered the chance to buy one, you had to be a serious, trusted, deeply valued Ferrari customer. Money alone simply wouldn't get you through the door, and Hamilton's name was on that very short list. He confirmed owning it himself, and it stands as one of the true hidden jewels of his entire collection. A car so exclusive that most people, even seriously wealthy people, will go their whole lives and never once see one in the metal. Yet this rarity is only the beginning of the climb, because the next car isn't merely rare. It's widely considered one of the most beautiful things Ferrari has ever created. Number 6. The Ferrari LaFerrari. The name says it all, LaFerrari. Translated, it means, quite simply, the Ferrari, as in the definitive one, the ultimate expression of everything the company stands for. When Ferrari names a car that, you know they believe they've built something monumental. This was Ferrari's own member of that legendary trio of hybrid hypercars, standing shoulder to shoulder with the McLaren P1, a strictly limited masterpiece, with a screaming V12 engine boosted by cutting-edge electric power, all wrapped in a body that looks like it was sculpted by the wind itself rather than drawn by human hands. Hamilton's was finished in a striking candy red, and it was a beating centerpiece of his collection for years. This is a car that makes grown adults stop dead and stare, that makes children point out of car windows, that turns any ordinary street into a red carpet the moment it rolls past. And yet, believe it or not, Hamilton owned an even rarer version of this exact car, which brings us to a machine so exclusive it makes the standard LaFerrari look almost understated. Number 5. The Ferrari LaFerrari Aperta. If the LaFerrari was already one of the rarest cars on the planet, the Aperta version took things to an almost unbelievable level, because this was the open-top edition, and Ferrari built even fewer of these. Here's the story people love. After Hamilton owned the standard LaFerrari, he went and acquired the drop-top Aperta as well. Not instead of, as well. He wanted both versions of one of the most exclusive cars Ferrari had ever produced. Let that settle for a moment. There are billionaires who spent years quietly begging Ferrari for a single LaFerrari of any kind, and were politely turned away at the door. Hamilton had the coupe and the convertible, sitting side by side. That one fact tells you everything about the level he operated at, and the sheer respect Ferrari held for him as both a champion and a customer. The Aperta let its handful of lucky owners feel that mighty V12 howling and shrieking with nothing but open sky above their heads. Pure, undiluted, spine-tingling drama. But as utterly breathtaking as that Ferrari is, the next car takes us somewhere completely different, away from sleek Italian hypercars and straight into raw, snarling vintage American muscle. Number 4. The 1966 Shelby 427 Cobra. Now the story takes a hard, thrilling turn, because this proves Hamilton wasn't just a man buying the newest, shiniest hypercars off a waiting list. He was a real, dyed-in-the-wool enthusiast who hunted down history. The Shelby Cobra is one of the most legendary American cars ever built. Brutal, deafeningly loud, genuinely dangerous, with a massive American engine crammed into a tiny, feather-light body. Driving one hard is often said to feel like wrestling a wild animal that's actively trying to throw you off. And Hamilton, with every hybrid hypercar in the world at his fingertips, went hunting for an original. Here's the detail that gives me goosebumps every time. Hamilton tracked down this genuine 1966 example, and he was so thrilled, so moved by it, that he actually asked Carroll Shelby himself, the legendary creator of the car, to come and personally inspect it. Just imagine that scene. The modern racing icon, standing quietly beside the grizzled old American legend, the two of them admiring the very same piece of history together. That's not a collector, that's a fan. A man living out a childhood dream. And astonishingly, this wasn't even the only Cobra he owned. Because the next car is its close cousin. Number 3, the Mercedes-AMG ONE. This is one of the most extreme road cars ever conceived by human beings. The Mercedes-AMG ONE did something almost nobody thought was possible. It took an actual Formula One engine, the very technology from the pinnacle of motorsport, and squeezed it into a car you could theoretically drive on the street. And they built only 275 of them. For Hamilton, this car is deeply, powerfully personal. He spent the defining years of his career winning championship after championship with Mercedes power behind him. So to own a road car carrying that exact same Formula One heart, that same screaming, high-strung, high-technology engine, is the ultimate full-circle moment. It's his entire working life, distilled and poured into a single road-legal machine. The AMG ONE is fiendishly complex, brutally, savagely fast, and one of the boldest engineering gambles any carmaker has ever dared to take. Owning one places you in the tiniest, most rarefied club imaginable. And yet, for all its wild, headline-grabbing rarity, it still isn't the rarest car Lewis Hamilton has ever owned. Because there's one machine left on this list that exists in a category of exactly one. Number 2, the 1967 Shelby 427 Cobra. Yes, you heard that right. Hamilton didn't stop at one vintage Cobra. He owned a second, a 1967 model, a completely separate car from the 1966 example we just talked about. This is where you see true passion. A casual buyer gets one Cobra to tick the box and show off. A genuine enthusiast gets two, from different years, because he simply loves them that much. And here's the beautiful part. Hamilton reportedly drove this 1967 Cobra more often than the other. So this wasn't a static museum piece, polished and hidden. This was a car he actually took out, felt, and enjoyed, letting that thunderous American engine roar down real roads. Think about the sheer contrast sitting inside this one man's garage. On one side, silent, futuristic, battery-assisted hybrid hypercars from the 21st century. On the other, raw, snarling, gloriously analog American muscle from the 1960s, with no electronics to save you and no screens to distract you. That enormous range, spanning 60 years of motoring history, is exactly what separates a true, lifelong car lover from a mere trophy collector. And now, as we reach the final two, we return to the cutting edge of the modern era, to a car so advanced it completely blurs the line between road car and race car. Number 1, the Pagani Zonda 760 LH. This is it, the crown jewel, the car we teased at the very beginning, and the reason no one else on Earth will ever own its equal. The Pagani Zonda is already one of the most exotic, hand-built, jaw-dropping cars in existence. But Hamilton's wasn't just any Zonda. It was a one-off. A bespoke creation, built by Pagani specifically for him, to his exact personal taste. And look at the name, the 760 LH. Those two letters at the end, LH, stand for Lewis Hamilton himself. His own initials, stamped forever into the identity of the car. There is no other Zonda 760 LH in the world. There never will be. Here's the detail that car enthusiasts absolutely adore. Hamilton, A man who spent his entire professional career flicking through gears with tiny paddles on a Formula One steering wheel, specifically asked for his Zonda to be built with a manual gearbox, a proper, old-school, three-pedal stick shift. He wanted to feel the raw, mechanical, physical connection of changing gears himself, by hand, with a clutch under his left foot. That single choice tells you exactly who Lewis Hamilton really is underneath it all. Not just a champion who wins on Sundays, but a driver who genuinely, deeply, helplessly loves the pure, simple act of driving. He didn't want the fastest shifting car or the easiest car. He wanted the one that made him feel the most. The Zonda 760 LH is loud, wild, and utterly uncompromising. It carries his name, his initials, and his personal touch in every single detail. It is, quite literally, the most personal car in the entire collection. The ultimate machine, made for the ultimate driver, and for him alone. And then, in 2025, he quietly let it all go. Every single car you've just seen. The Ferraris, the royal blue McLaren, the two vintage Cobras, the Formula One-powered AMG ONE, even the priceless, irreplaceable one-off Zonda, carrying his own initials on its flank. Hamilton stepped away from the entire collection and closed one of the most remarkable chapters in the history of celebrity car ownership. A lifetime of chasing, hunting, and dreaming, released all at once. That's exactly what makes this list so special, and a little bittersweet. You've just witnessed a lost empire, a collection quietly assembled over many years by a man who didn't just have the money to buy absolutely anything he wanted, but who had the genuine, burning passion to chase the rarest, the fastest, and the most meaningful cars on the entire planet. Everything from thunderous vintage American muscle to a hand-built Pagani wearing his own name on the back. So out of all 10, which one would you rescue from the sale? The candy red LaFerrari, the wild 1966 Cobra he showed to Carroll Shelby himself, or the one-of-one Zonda built for Lewis and Lewis alone? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoy forgotten British car stories like this, consider subscribing. There are many more coming every week.